All right, the president has a reason to smile tonight because a new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows the president's approval rating. Wow, look at that. It has reached its all-time high. The highest to date, 47%. That's higher than President Obama's 45% approval during the 2010 midterms when Democrats suffered major losses in both the House and Senate. The good news for President Trump is analysts say his higher approval ratings tend to help his party retain more seats. But in the unfortunate event of an electoral blowout, insiders say Trump will shift the blame away from the White House and on to Paul Ryan and cocaine Mitch McConnell. Meanwhile, early voting numbers are coming in, and this year's voter engagement is huge. Democrats showing up more than Republicans, but over 4.3 million early ballots have already been cast. Why are all these people rushing to the polls when we've seen so much can happen in any given 2-week period? The panel is here to weigh in, and it is ladies' night. That's right. I've got former criminal defense attorney Emily Compagno here, along with Fox News political analyst and former candidate for DNC Chair Jehmu Greene. And she is the correspondent on The Greg Gutfeld Show and a reporter for National Review Online. Kat Timpf, welcome, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Yay! Hooray! So let's talk a little bit about the wave that may or may not be. You've got I think it's fascinating that now you have high voter engagement on both sides.
Exactly. I think we hear so much about the blue wave over and over again. There's going to be this blue wave. There's going to be this blue wave. People are really underestimating just how pumped up people are on the Republican side, too. Yeah. And I used to think that I could predict what would happen, and then Donald Trump got elected president. So now I'm kind of hesitant to predict anything. I think that if there is a blue wave, it's not really going to be a blue wave so much as a blue trickle. I think it might be a small, but if at all, I really don't know, because I don't know if I can trust polls anymore after what happened in the 2016 election.
That's a really good point, because I think a lot of people have gone back and they've sort of taken stock in what it means to use this polling data, and it's almost like we have to throw the entire algorithm out that we used in 2016 because it was so wrong. So can we trust polls?
I think it's good. They should be thrown out. We should be doing a lot of things differently.
How do you take people's temperatures if you're not going to use traditional polling methods?
You know, I think certainly looking at how we can have better conversations with people and not think, oh, you're cooking dinner and give me 5 seconds of your time. But what's happening with these polls right now is that Trump has gone back to original recipe Trump. Look at what he's talking about. The boogeyman is coming, just like he launched his presidential campaign. He's now thrown out some make-believe magical tax cut that even Paul Ryan doesn't know about.
Well, Paul Ryan doesn't know because he's a lame duck and no one's talking to him about this.
But the president is out there campaigning.
And he's also not good at cutting spending. So
I'm not sure how much he's actually getting done in the White House. He's made it very clear campaigning is what he's doing. You know, for Democrats, if President Obama had been this active on the campaign trail in midterms, we wouldn't have lost those 1,000 seats. So good for him. But here's the problem. The bump that Republicans got from the Kavanaugh confirmation, that's going to slowly be forgotten while the president is on stage talking, you know, not even like you don't even need a decoder ring, Kennedy. He said tonight, I'm a nationalist. Well, guess who he was talking to? Not just nationalists, but certainly the white nationalists who have backed him from the beginning. This man is using every trick in the book to make people vote on fear in this midterm, not hope.
I think that that's how it feels to you, and I respect that. I don't think that that is necessarily the truth. I think there is a conversation right now that has more to do with restrictionism and a pushback against globalism, and it's more about economic restrictionism than a wink-wink to a bunch of secret Nazis who, according to your logic, are voting in droves.
He's certainly doing a lot of winking.
I think that you are inferring more winking than is implied, and I think it's a distraction from what could be some better messaging from Democrats, and your fellow Democrats
could be
really
much
good
better on health care. And guess what? Mitch McConnell gave Democrats a gift when he said, oh, you know what? We're going to start messing with Social Security and Medicare. Who votes in midterm elections? People who don't want Republicans messing with Social Security.
When there's low voter turnout, it tends to be our golden Americans, our 60 and 70 plus heroes who are the stallions of democracy. This time around, you are seeing engagement across the board, across party lines and gender lines and demographics of every measure.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is what are we going to see in actuality in 2 weeks? So number one, part of the reason why 2016 polling failed is because it failed to capture that crucial last-minute chapter leading up to the actual day. And then secondly, totally, look at Tom Steyer. He invested $33 million in the millennial vote, including 3.5, I believe, in California alone. But will they actually turn out? Will it matter? And in terms of messaging, you're absolutely right. You need to be galvanized to go to the midterm elections. Is it enough that if the Democrats take over the House, they've threatened to impeach Justice Kavanaugh and do a lot of other things that, impact on the Rosenstein investigation, et cetera? Is that enough to galvanize? It should be, and I think that's why messaging is so important in this last 2 weeks.
Democrats have to simplify it.
GOP.
They don't have a clever phrase with health care because jobs, not mobs, even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
It is.
Catchy.
It's catchy.
It's in my head already.
It keeps it pretty stupid, y'all.
All right, coming up, he doesn't keep it stupid. Not everyone who voted for the president is stupid.
Oh, I certainly didn't say that, Kennedy.
Oh, no, that was a wink.
No,
Jamil? Yeah.
no.
Coming up, a live report on the president's new tax cut plan, and the panel returns with much more. But first up, a bunch of crazy new twists in the case of that murdered Washington Post columnist. Did the Saudis really try to use a body double to prolong the ruse? That, plus angry reaction from the president and lawmakers on both sides, with Sebastian Gorka next. Oh, there's plenty of shouting going on. Harassing politicians is becoming this year's Ice Bucket Challenge. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell became the latest victim while he was out to dinner on Friday. Oh, Mitch.
Why don't you get out of here? Why don't you leave the entire country alone?
Ditch Mitch!
Oh, leave him alone. Ditch Mitch. You got all sides there. Senator McConnell wasn't the only lawmaker getting an earful last week. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi came face-to-face with some well-wishers during a campaign stop in Florida on Wednesday.
You don't belong here, you communists. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Oh, these are just the latest in a long line of public incidents that have targeted Sarah Sanders, Ted Cruz, and Kirstjen Nielsen. But with Democrats getting a taste of their own medicine, could this cause their party leaders to stop calling for the public harassment of elected officials? Back with me to discuss the situation, Emily Jehmu and Kat. Emily, I will start with you. You could see the frustration on the other diners' faces because this stuff is exhausting. If you're just going somewhere for a late lunch and you have to deal with this nonsense, it really is a pile of hot garbage.
Yes, and they, those diners rose to his defense, and eventually they threw that guy out after he tossed the to-go bag out the door. I agree with you. I think there's a level of public fatigue. I absolutely feel that everyone in the journalism and all elected officials should be decrying this very clearly, and it's absolutely irresponsible for those in these positions to be calling for violence, because there's obviously a fine line. And the fact that Steve Scalise continues on Twitter to basically be this voice in the dark that for some reason no one's listening to when he was almost killed, to me is ridiculous. And even though it's a fine line, there's a spectrum leading up to it. So I don't understand why there's a playground in that gray area right now. It's beyond dangerous to me.
All right, so what do you think, Jehmu? Where are we with this?
The key to civility in politics? Legalization, maybe?
Of what?
Maybe people will calm down a bit if they had marijuana legalized. That aside, look, I think
There is a lot of rage.
There is
in
a
all
lot
of
of
this.
rage, and I've been here at this table condemning Antifa, and the same thing needs to happen with what is going on with these Proud Boys and their, motto being, "We will murder you," going after, she's a woman, Nancy Pelosi, coordinated with the Republican Party leadership down in Miami. This is crazy.
So how is that?
The Republican
more
Party
condemnable
connected with
than
the
some of the
Proud Boys?
than some of the mobs and violence you've seen
None of
against?
it is good. If you condemned Antifa, which many people we know did, rightly so, then you have to be saying that Nancy Pelosi being attacked by these Proud Boys is just as bad. But we all know where this starts.
They were yelling at her, but we've seen Republican candidates and Republican lawmakers getting thrown to the ground and hassled and
I just can't be with them. My side is getting it worse than your side. We need a president to say none of this is acceptable. We need a president who's not going to call for journalists to be beaten up.
Who's not saying that this kind of collateral damage is okay, Kat.
First of all, I want to say the reason my voice is so hoarse is because I've been out harassing politicians all day long. And so
yeah, you went to the YMCA in Park Slope, Brooklyn to harass Mayor de Blasio in New York.
Yeah, you'd have to forgive me. I'm having a little difficulty speaking. No, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's also completely ineffective. No one's ever been sitting there eating dinner and have somebody come up and start screaming at them and thought, you know what? I was a Republican, but now I'm for open borders because this person wouldn't let me eat my food. Yeah. No, you're just going to be exactly the same, except maybe dislike the other side more, and also you'll be hungry, Kennedy. And you know what? We can't have a bunch of hungry politicians making our laws, because when you're hungry, you do not perform as well.
No, that's why we are going to feast on the topical storm. Thank you so much, Kat, Jehmu, and Emily. Great to see you all. Stay here. Topical storm is next.